Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councillor Peterson.
Here.
Councillor Geisler.
Here.
Councillor Nelson.
Here.
Mayor Boucher.
Here. Announcements. Do any councilors have announcements they'd like to make?
Not tonight.
I'd like to bring up National Night Out tomorrow night, right next door at the police fire complex at 4:30. Chance for the community to get together. We have no public hearings, no communications to mention. The presentations were the swearing in of new officers earlier and a slight community recreation presentation on the effective field possibilities. We will now move to public discussion. Is there anyone present or online that wishes to address the council about any item not on the agenda? Any member of the public wishes to address the council, please state your name and address for the record. Is there any public input for this council this evening? We'll move to item 9, the consent agenda, minutes and accounts payable. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Councillor Nelson, second by Councillor Geisler. Roll call, please.
Councillor Geisler.
Aye.
Councillor Nelson.
Aye.
Councillor Peterson.
Aye.
Mayor Boucher.
Aye. Ordinances. Item A, ordinance 2022-09, an ordinance declaring a temporary moratorium on edible cannabinoid products derived from hemp within the city of Hermantown. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Councillor Peterson, second by Councillor Geisler. Mr. Mulder, do we want our city attorney to address this?
Well, I can just say this is a 6-month moratorium just to deal with the legislative change that allows for the sale of these edible items, so that we just want to kind of get a handle on what's the approach the city wants to take on, to what extent, if any, we want to regulate those sales.
Any input, Mr. Attorney?
No, I think that covers it well.
And also, even though the agenda says this is the first reading, this is the only reading, and the ordinance will go into effect at the end of the meeting, or as soon as it's approved. Do you have any questions or comments from council?
No.
Personally, I think it's good that we take a step back and look at this just to see if everything's headed in the right direction. Is there any public comment on this ordinance 2022-09? If there's any public comment on this ordinance, please state your name and address for the record. This will be the last opportunity for public comment on ordinance 2022-09. Roll call, please.
Councillor Nelson.
Aye.
Councillor Peterson.
Aye.
Councillor Geisler.
Aye.
Mayor Boucher.
Aye. Resolutions, resolution 2022-99, resolution approving pay request number 4 for reconditioning of Highway 53 water tower, water improvement district number 318 to Osseo Construction Company LLC in the amount of $25,792.50. Do we have a motion?
All motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Councillor Geisler, second by Councillor Nelson. Mr. Mulder.
The work is now done on the water tower. We'll see one last payment, but as of right now, all of the work has been done.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from council?
And the water tower is back online.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything else from council? Is there any public comment on this resolution? If there's any public comment on resolution 2022-99, please state your name and address for the record. Is there any public comment on the approval of the pay request number 4 for the reconditioning of the water tower? Roll call, please.
Counselor Peterson. Counselor Geisler.
Aye.
Counselor Nelson.
Aye.
Mayor Boucher.
Aye. Resolution 2022-100, resolution approving an amendment to the city handbook regarding mental health crisis data. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Counselor Peterson, second by Counselor Nelson. Mr. Mulder.
This is a policy that we put in place that would allow the police department can now get mental health data on individuals that are going through a mental health crisis. This policy is required by law for us to have, and it just kind of regulates in terms of how we'll use that data and how we will respond to requests if necessary about that data.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? And this is in response to a state statute that was just changed and went into effect July 1st.
That's correct.
And we need this policy to take advantage of that opportunity. Any other comments? Is there any public comment on resolution 2022-100? If there is any public comment on this, please state your name and address for the record. Any public comment on a resolution approving amendment to the city council handbook or city handbook? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Geisler.
Aye.
Counselor Nelson.
Aye.
Counselor Peterson. Mayor Boucher.
Aye. Resolution 2022-101, resolution approving an update to the City of Hermantown, Minnesota Government Practices Act, Police Department Procedures. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Counselor Nelson, second by Counselor Peterson. Mr. Mulder?
This is just an update to our existing policy, and in the police department, it deals specifically with some of the mental health data that we just talked about. But each year we take a look at our Data Practices Act. We make changes as necessary. So this is an update for this year.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from council? Is there any public input on this resolution? If there is any public input on this resolution, please state your name and address. Is there any public input on resolution 2022-101? Roll call, please.
Counselor Nelson.
Aye.
Counselor Peterson.
Aye.
Counselor Geisler.
Aye.
Mayor Boucher.
Aye. Resolution 2022-102, resolution approving an update to the City of Hermantown, Minnesota Government Data Practices Act, City Hall procedures. Do we have a motion?
All motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Peterson. Mr. Mulder?
Again, we have Data Practices Act procedures for the City Hall side of things, which does not include some of the mental health stuff we talked about with the police department. But again, we just looked at this on an annual basis. We made a few minor changes, not really any substantive changes, but updates the policy.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council? No. Is there any public input on resolution 2022-102? Any public input on this resolution? If anyone wishes to speak to the council about this matter, please state your name and address. Roll call, please.
Counselor Geisler.
Aye.
Counselor Nelson.
Aye.
Counselor Peterson.
Aye.
Mayor Boucher.
Aye. Resolution 2022-103, resolution approving a consent related to the development contract between the Hermantown Economic Development Authority, the City of Hermantown, and KTJ 360 LLC for the Pillars of Hermantown Senior Living Project. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Nelson, second by Counselor Geisler. Mr. Mulder.
So as you recall, we had the development agreement and assessment agreements and a business subsidy agreement with KTJ 360. Because of their change in their the way they handle things on a kind of corporate organizational level, we need to change these documents to allow them to assign that to another corporate entity, but that way we maintain all of their obligations and the paperwork that needs to be recorded and is needed to use for financing all match. So that we're just kind of updating the paperwork.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from council? Is there any public input on this resolution? If so, please state your name and address for the record. Is there any public input on resolution 2022-103? And we'll have a last opportunity for public input on this resolution. Roll call, please.
Counselor Nelson,
Aye.
Counselor Peterson,
Aye.
Counselor Geisler,
Aye.
Mayor Boucher.
Aye. Resolution 2022-101, resolution approving a consent to the assignment and assumption agreement between KTJ 360 LLC and Pillars of Hermantown LLC, and authorizing and directing the mayor and city clerk to execute and deliver the consent on behalf of the city. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Peterson, second by Counselor Geisler. Mr. Mulder.
Again, this document is just saying that the city agrees that KTJ 360 can assign those responsibilities and those obligations under the contracts to the Pillars of Hermantown.
Thank you. Do you have any questions or comments from the council? Is there any public input on this resolution? If anyone wishes to speak to this resolution, please state your name and address for the record. Is there any public input on resolution 2022-104? Roll call, please.
Counselor Peterson,
Aye.
Counselor Geisler,
Aye.
Counselor Nelson,
Aye.
Mayor Boucher.
Aye. And I guess now we need a motion to recess.
Motion to recess. Second.
Motion by Counselor Peterson, second by Counselor Nelson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.